A new moon in Virgo, August 22nd at 11:06 p.m. Pacific time, 2:06 a.m. in New York and on the East Coast, 6:06 a.m. Universal Time in England and beyond. Adjust for your time zone accordingly. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video I'm going to talk about this very important new moon in Virgo. It's truly the beginning of eclipse season. The eclipses are coming. The eclipses are coming. It is time to prepare. Virgo is all about preparation. In this video, I'm going to talk about just some of the qualities of a new moon in general, some of the qualities of a Virgo new moon, what makes this Virgo new moon very unique and very rare, an alignment that's, for many of us, the first time we're seeing it in our lifetime, unless you're 84 years old or older. I'm going to talk about how it's affecting all of the planets. I'm also going to talk about which planets it's affecting the strongest. I want to talk about the square to Uranus, because that really is bringing a lot of surprises with it. And I'm going to take it through all 12 rising signs. And in the end, so if you want, you can fast forward to your rising sign or watch it for your sun and rising sign. And so those will be chapters at the end of the video, and I'll put the chapters in the description of the YouTube so that you can skip ahead and just listen for your sun and rising and moon if you want as well, but really the sun and rising. Yeah, so let me get going. Oh, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Please hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Please like, please comment, please share. It will help me in the algorithm. It will help me grow my channel and grow my community and put me in a position to continue to give these free astrological offerings. I'm really trying to expand my client base so that I can continue to earn a living as an astrologer and tarot reader. So please make sure that you share my channel with other friends who you know are into astrology and tarot. Thank you so much. And now, without further ado, I'm going to get into the interpretation. So new moons are always seed planting points, and we are planting the seeds whether we know it or not. So we might as well do it with some intention. And it's really helpful when we're aware of what sign the new moon is in and what house it's in our chart, because then we can get very specific at wielding the cosmic energies that are supporting those kinds of seeds and growth in that moment. And so this is really a Virgo story. So you really want to know which house in your chart Virgo rules. If you don't know what house in your chart Virgo rules, definitely contact me for a reading. I would love to read for you. I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. This is a great time to get a reading, which you will soon see by this video that we are entering a 6-week period of a lot of plot twists, surprises, shockers, and all kinds of good stuff. So it's a great time to get a birth chart reading, because, you know, having your chart done and the transits read is kind of like having a GPS, a weather report, and a timing mechanism all built into one, and as well as a ability to zoom out and see the whole journey, situation, everything going on from a bird's eye perspective. And so I can't recommend it more highly for this time period that we're entering of this year. So anyway, you know, you can plant the, you know, I like to do an altar at the new moon. I put flowers, I put candles, I put, you know, special mementos from places I've traveled or family heirlooms. Maybe if there's something that I'm creative that I'm working on, I have some, you know, representation of that. And you know, pictures of the ancestors, my grandparents, people who, you know, I was close to have passed, who still guide me. And so you can, an altar is a completely personal thing. You can put whatever you want on your altar. There's no right or wrong way. It just has to be meaningful and special to you. And you can, oh, I even have the planet Venus on my altar. But it was a gift from a client, a really nice gift from a client, actually, a client I read for. But anyway, so if you want to do a new moon practice like that, an altar practice, it's best to do it at the new moon or after. Don't do it before the new moon unless you're trying to do a banishing or an elimination spell. Because right before the new moon is the black moon, and the black moon is really for a different kind of magic. The new moon is for manifesting and planting the seeds of intention that we want to grow. And in this Virgo new moon, this Virgo part of our chart is about to undergo a major reset and a really turbo new start. And this is happening over the course of August 22nd through September 31st. And I think it will be reverberating even until, October, the new moon of Libra, really. So this new moon's got legs, it's got legs. And again, it's at 0 degrees Virgo. So not only is it a new moon, but it's at 0 degrees, which 0 degrees is like a point of pure potential of any sign. It carries all of the pure potential of that sign and what's to come in the next, journey over the next 29 degrees. And what's interesting is that the solar eclipse, September 21st, is at the 29th degree of Virgo, the very last degree of Virgo. So we have these 2 new moons in a row in Virgo, this very rare kind of repetitive alignment. And the first one is at 0 degrees, and the second one is at 29 degrees. So these 2 new moons are really bookending the house that Virgo rules in our birth chart. So this is an important house to get to know, because this house is undergoing a major karmic shift through the next month, beginning August 22nd. And Virgo has to do with, there are many different levels to Virgo. And different people are going to experience it differently depending on your own personal astrological coding. And that's why it's good to have an understanding of your chart, work one-on-one with an astrologer. But Virgos are obviously going to experience this very personally, but also Pisces, because it opposes Virgo in the zodiac. Also Gemini, because the Virgo new moon is squaring Uranus in Gemini, and also Sagittarius. So the mutable axis is going to be affected, probably the strongest, but every axis is going to be affected. The fixed axis and the cardinal axis don't get out of this thing unscathed either. And it's not going to be all bad. It's nothing to be fearful of. But it is something to be aware of, because it is some dynamic energy that we are entering. Lots of plot twists, lots of shocking things coming out of nowhere that we need to respond to, rapid decisions or choices needing to be made, just unpredictable changes of plans, changes of travel plans, changes of school plans. All of this is on the table for this new moon and the whole period, because the new moon, even though it's on August 22nd, August 23rd in some places, and that will be a very distinct expression, it's going to, it tells a story of that complete lunar cycle, taking us to the next new moon, which is a solar eclipse, which is, we're really at a big reset moment, and there's going to be major new start energy in the house that Virgo rules in our chart. And I will take it through the 12 rising signs at the end of this video. I hope to not make this video too long. A lot of times, you know, I've already mentioned Virgo has to do with preparing. It has to do with improving. It has to do with, you know, Virgo has to do with your craft, you know, honing in on one thing and doing it really, really well. Virgo has to do with service, you know. Virgo has to do with health and fitness a lot. This is going to be health and fitness stuff for a lot of people. Virgo has to do with the mind-body connection. That's going to be very important in this cycle. In fact, I would say that people who have a very strong mind-body connection will be the winners of this period. Virgo has to do with, you know, our daily routine, our daily rituals, our daily habits, our eating habits, our workout routine, our health habits, our organizing habits, how we do the small tasks throughout each and every day. And so many people may be getting a new start or a big reboot in their lives. Virgo also, you know, Virgo has to do with things like, you know, cleansing, purging, pruning, weeding, editing, decluttering, organizing, you know, analyzing, criticizing. Virgo has to do with using our analytical mind. Virgo is problem solving with our analytical mind. Virgo, yeah, I mentioned, has a lot to do with our eating habits, how we eat. Sometimes Virgo can even have to do with sex in some cases, or lack thereof. You know, Virgo, I've mentioned a lot of things. You know, Virgo, in terms of professions, rules healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, veterinarians. But Virgo is also, can be sex workers, as I mentioned, but Virgos can also be nuns. Virgos can be farmers, gardeners, landscapers, but also like writers and editors. You know, I mentioned craftsmen. You know, so professional organizers, obviously. So like Virgo, you know, it covers a lot of ground. Virgo is an earth sign. It's a mutable sign. So this new moon is happening on the mutable axis, and the mutable signs all have to do with change. You know, when the mutable axis is being ignited in a planetary alignment, especially involving a square, like the square to Uranus, it's with this new moon, square to Uranus, newly in Gemini, which is, you know, very dynamic just by itself. And then squaring the new moon, you know, surprises, plot twists, breakthroughs, breakups, breakdowns, changes in plans, you know, sudden about faces, things coming out of nowhere that we need to respond to. That's very much the energy that the square to Uranus is bringing with this new moon. And if you're looking at it in your chart, you're going to look at the house, the Gemini house, bringing a plot twist and a surprise to what's going on in the Virgo house, likely. And again, I'm going to take you through the 12 rising signs and give a brief synopsis of how it might move through each rising sign. But those are still going to be general. You really have to know your chart, because Mercury is so important in this, and how your own natal Mercury is placed, you should look at, because that is really going to impact how this new moon square Uranus is going to affect your chart and all the areas of life that it's going to bring together for you. And you can start to really get a specific idea of what's kind of coming up, even though it's kind of this expect the unexpected energy. It's not what we expect. Whatever we expect, it's not that. It's this other thing that's going to happen that we have to respond to. But yeah, so the Virgo house, the Gemini house, shockers, surprises, plot twists. We haven't seen a Virgo moon square or sun. That's both happening. You know, the new moon is the sun and the moon aligned, so both will square Uranus. In the repetition, first the moon, the night of the new moon, and the sun a couple days later. So it's like there's a lot of surprising and shocking energy through the weekend, but then the surprises and the shocks continue to reverberate throughout the month. And you know, on a geological level, this is big earthquake energy. On a collective level, this is, you know, shocking things coming out in the media, shocking news around crops or the harvest, you know, shocking health news that's affecting the masses, you know, shocking. It could be strikes in the healthcare system, or laborers or farmers, labor union strikes. All of that is under the purview of Virgo. And that's some of the collective. Also, this new moon is happening conjunct Donald Trump's ascendant, so this could really have something to do with his health. He could be saying some particularly shocking things, surprise, surprise, or there could be some shocking information coming out about his cognitive ability or his nervous system or his health in some way during this time. Now, in general, yeah, when Uranus is conjunct the new moon, so Uranus is in Gemini. Gemini has to do with, it can be things like children and school and, you know, teaching and learning. It can be writers, journalists, media. It can also just be, you know, information and data and curiosity. And, you know, Gemini rules our friends, our neighbors, our siblings, how we speak and how we think and how we listen and how we learn. And so all of this is kind of coming up for a big shakeup and kind of a, you know, some surprising elements coming up around these topics with the new moon on August 22nd and 23rd and into the following month. But really this weekend, the Uranian energy is so strong, especially if you have any planets in the early degrees of any sign of the zodiac. I mean, yes, Geminis, Virgos, Sagittarius, Gemini, my mutable placements. You guys be ready for some quick, swift changes that you have to respond to quickly this weekend. For my fixed signs, same thing. It's going to be a little bit harder. All I can say for the fixed signs, so if you have early placements in Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo, you know, let go. Don't hold on. Let go and go with it as the changes happen, because the harder you hold on, the more painful it's going to be. And for my cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, this new moon is affecting you. Well, Capricorn is in an interesting position because it's trine. And in the fixed signs, Taurus is in an interesting position because it's trine. So Taurus and Capricorn get some relief. There's a lot of manifesting energy here for Taurus and Capricorn. There's a lot of manifesting energy here for everyone, but Taurus and Capricorn are set up to do it with ease immediately, whereas other people, the other signs, may have to go through a bit more of an obstacle course to get there. There's something to be learned. I don't believe that these kind of, you know, tougher Uranian shake-up transits happen for anything. You know, the universe is divinely organized. It's beautiful. Whether or not we can see it, there's a meaning. You know, Uranus does make sudden changes out of nowhere, but it does, it changes in it pushes us out of our comfort zone in ways that we would not otherwise move unless it had that sudden kind of Uranian urgency and element of surprise to it. And it creates a new path to the future. And this is very mentally liberating. It's in Gemini. So I see like minds changing, minds opening, minds expanding, minds being blown, shaking up what you've always thought, how you've always thought about something, you know, shaking up what you thought you knew about things you don't know, you know, shaking up what you've always learned. It's like that kind of energy. And then the Virgo energy is really trying to make this new start. The Virgo energy is like, the Virgo new moon is wanting to get disciplined and, you know, get on our routine and get on our schedule and get our regimen. And there's something that maybe we want to make happen that in that house in our chart, and that thing that we want to make happen is going to take some dedication and devotion and organization and attention to detail. And so we're really honing in on that at the new moon. But at the same time, there's this Uranian plot twist coming out of nowhere that's going to affect everything, and we're going to have to respond to that and try and find a way to integrate these energies, because then we continue to move forward. The next solar eclipse, well, there's a lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 11th, which is opposing our Virgo house. And so this Virgo Pisces axis is really being lit up. It's the axis between organization and messiness. It's the axis between, details and vagueness. It's the axis of service and sacrifice. It's the axis of, spiritualism versus materialism. It's the axis of, the big picture versus the task. It's the axis of the dream versus the realities. It's the axis of health. I think I already mentioned, so there's all these things going on that Pisces Virgo axis. And then you have to look at the houses it rules in your chart, which I'm going to get to in the next part of the video as I go and take it quickly through all the 12 houses. But so the square to Uranus is the major aspect, but this Virgo new moon is really aspecting all of the outer planets, because we've got Saturn and Neptune still up there in the very early degrees of Aries, and they're forming a quincunx. It's a finger of God. Yes, there's a yod. A finger of God is in this new moon chart. And the finger of God is a formation that involves two quincunxes and a sextile. And what it looks like in the chart is like the finger pointing to one of the planets. The two planets that are sextile each other are pointing both in quincunx. And so in this case, the new moon, the sun and the moon are at where God is pointing the finger. Now, I've heard some people experience a yod happening in their chart as the finger of God, but some people experience it as, the finger of God, a more gentle finger of God, where God is pointing something out to you, hopefully gently, but maybe it's a poke from God. Maybe he's poking at you somewhere. Again, depending on your own personal astrology, again, look at where your Mercury is placed. Look at how your Mercury is placed. Look at what houses Virgo and Pisces rule in your chart. Astrology is a holistic view, but I'm giving you some general broad strokes to work with, and I'm hoping that you will contact me for a reading so we can look very specifically at this very interesting season. So back to the yod. So the yod, the finger of God, has Virgo new moon, sun and moon at the apex. You've got Saturn and Neptune together on one side, both retrograde in Aries. Again, pointing to this new start that we're trying to make, but we're being pulled back somehow. We're still having to go back over some old things. Saturn and Neptune are headed to the old world. So they're in quincunx to the new moon. Quincunx, it's an uncomfortable aspect. An adjustment needs to be made. A quincunx is like the mosquito that's biting you when you're asleep and you can't see it and you're hitting and you just don't know where it is. Like the quincunx, or something is out of alignment. Now on the other side, we've got Pluto in Aquarius. Now Pluto in Aquarius is making a quincunx to the new moon. And Pluto in Aquarius is all about this new world that is developing and being born. And Saturn and Neptune are about that too. Those are both new world energies going on. And so this new moon in Gemini square Uranus for the first time in our lives. Again, unless you're older than 84 years old, we've never seen this, a new moon in Virgo square Uranus. So this is a very special new moon this weekend, and so I lost my train of thought, but I was just saying, basically that, this new moon is connecting to the outer planets. that are considered the transpersonal planets. They have to do with our collective experiences. They have to do with our generation that we're born into, you know, whether you're a millennial or a boomer or an Xer or whatever. That's, you know, the outer planets kind of rule those kinds of things. It's like how we're connected to the collective. So for the new moon, you know, which is a very personal kind of transit, to be keying, you know, in direct alignment to all of those outer planets, we realize that something very personal is going on right now, but that it's also bigger than us, and it's connected to what is happening in the world, what is unfolding in the world. With Pluto and Aquarius, you're looking at the rapid changes in technology, even with Gemini and Uranus and Gemini, because Uranus and Pluto are in a trine with each other. So there really is kind of almost like a kite formation that's happening. But anyway, you know, and then Pluto is in sextile to Saturn and Neptune. And again, if you don't understand any of my jargon, just ignore it and stay and listen for the translation. You don't have to understand the terminology. I put it in there for people who have a little bit more advanced knowledge of their chart or who are students of astrology, so that people know how I'm coming at what I'm saying. But you can still just listen to the video and listen for the interpretation and ignore that stuff and get just as much out of the video. So anyway, I'm saying that to say all of the outer planets are in formation with each other, and then the new moon is coming into that. And I've said it many times, those outer planets are interacting with each other very positively, so I do feel that the world is moving in a better direction, but we are still in a very dark period where we're going backwards, as indicated by Neptune and Saturn conjunct, moving backwards, back towards Pisces and Taurus. But I don't want to go off on that tangent either. But I'm just saying this is what's going on. This is energetically what's happening for all of us. It's happening on a world politic level, but it's happening in our personal lives and whatever houses, you know, Aries and Pisces are, you know, and then we're also looking at the Virgo Pisces axis as well. And, you know, the Saturn Neptune conjunction in the early degrees of Aries is what makes this transit also personally impact the charts of anyone who has personal planets at the beginning of Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn. So literally no matter what sign you are, if you have planets in the early degrees, like 0 through, you know, 4 degrees of any sign, this new moon is very personal to you, and it's showing you a new start for you where you are somehow, it looks like, contributing to a collective. You know, this can even be like, you know, legacy kind of work that you're doing, something that will withstand the test of time and have staying power. This can be mastering your craft, working hard to achieve a level of mastery. You know, for some people, again, it's going to be about health and fitness. Many people will be resetting their eating habits, resetting their bodies, resetting their health routines. I mean, I think it's very important to eat clean through this period. If I didn't already say it, through the new moon of Virgo until the second new moon of Virgo, clean eating through this eclipse season, because Virgo is about how we eat, and it rules our small intestines, and I think it's just really important. You know, there's going to be a time to indulge in our sweet tooth when Venus gets to Libra, you know, a few weeks, but for now, clean eating, really important. So anyway, what else do I want to say? So yeah, this new moon, it's in a relationship with all of the outer planets that are in creating this new world. And then Virgo is so much about systems, you know, the systems, how things run, what makes things run efficiently. How do we streamline? How do we make efficient? How do we make run smooth and seamlessly? So on a collective level, on a world level, a lot of systems are going to be being updated. There's going to be a lot of new systems being introduced that we haven't had in our lifetimes, you know, and we may be updating the systems in our own personal lives as well, particularly in the house that Virgo rules in our chart. I talked about the finger of God. So yeah, so that finger of God is pointing to You know, Pluto in Aquarius is saying, you know, the future is coming. You know, the world is transforming. There's going to be completely different ways of living in the world soon based on the technology. You know, Uranus is saying the same thing. You know, Saturn and Neptune are, you know, Neptune's telling us we need to dream a new dream. Saturn, you know, but they're also, Saturn and Neptune are both telling us there's still some old work to clean up in the old world before we can fully move forward with the new dream and the foundational work that goes into launching the new dream. And so all of this is going on all at once. And the finger of God is pointing to where we need to start new in our lives, where we need a reset. And it's coming whether we like it or not, whether we plan for it or not. And even if we do and have planned for it, there's going to be elements of it that are unpredictable, that are going to require us to be very flexible, very adaptable, and ready to shapeshift at a moment's notice. And so that is kind of what's going on. So now I'm going to take it through the 12 rising signs. But before I do that, I want to say here are a few questions for this Virgo new moon. What are you invested in? What do you serve? What is essential in your life? Where are you on your king-like or queen-like throne? Is your daily routine leading to your dream? Those are good journal prompts for this new moon. I'm not going to read the Sabian symbol. I was going to do the tarot, but I'm seeing it's getting short. So actually, I'm thinking I might take it through the 12 rising signs in a different video and make this video short and just stop it here, because I feel like my videos have been getting too long. Let me know whether you like me taking it through the 12 rising signs in one video, or if I should separate it into 2 videos. Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for joining me. I really wanted to do the tarot card, but I didn't bring them, so maybe I will include that in taking it through the 12 rising signs. That was the general properties of the new moon of Virgo. And stay tuned for my video taking it through all 12 rising signs. Thank you for watching.